welcome to another Journeys with Jeff. I'm Jeff Grandy, your host, and you guys you're familiar with the concept of a half hour, an hour television show that tells one big story, and that's not what we're going to do today, because what we have today to offer you is not a story but an epic. And I'm talking about a real epic journey by a man who was born in 1932 in Belica, Poland, a Jewish family. The family was Lazowski, the Lazowski family. His name is now Lesser, Bob Lesser. Some of you people viewing may be familiar with that name because Bob has been in the area for many, many years. Bob has had so many experiences that an hour does not do it justice at all. But what we're going to do today is we're going to try to encapsulate in an hour one little piece of his epic, and it's not a little piece; it's a big piece. But in Germany during Hitler's reign, of course, you know what happened with the Jewish population, the Holocaust. You're all familiar with that. Bob experienced that. Bob lived through that, and with his family. And today, he's going to talk about how he and his family survived and what they did to escape the Nazis and what they did to survive. So I want to welcome today Bob Lesser. Bob, welcome to Journeys with Jeff. And you are going to talk today about the absolutely amazing story of how your family survived and escaped from the Nazis, along with a lot of other Jewish families too. Start off with you were telling me earlier, with your grandfather, how your grandfather prepared you to survive, and then actually what happened when they burned your house down. Tell us about that.
My grandfather came, he went to America in the early 1900s, 1917 or 1916, to create a family and a business there, and then take the family to United States. My grandmother got sick, so he sold all the business and the house, and he came back to Belica, Poland, to see how he can help his wife. But unfortunately, she died before I was born, and he was lonesome, and I was very close to my grandfather, so I used to stay with him in his house. And then he said to me, "I'm going to teach you languages." So he taught me around 7 languages, every week a different language. Then he said to me, "I will take you into the woods, prepare you for the future, how to survive." He wouldn't tell me yet why, because I was too young. I was only 4.5 years old, 4.5, going on 5. But he did take me to the woods, like 4:35 in the morning, and he said to me, "These mushrooms are no good to eat. This one is a barovik, that's a good one. This one is a dushnitsi, that's a yellow one, that's good. And how to take soap juice out of a berezovik tree. It's a white tree, and you poke a hole in there, you put a bucket in the bottom, and it drips in juice to survive, you can drink it. And how to pick certain grass to eat, so you can have energy." And then later on in the years, I found out when Hitler came in 1941, because Stalin made a deal with Hitler. I'll take Warsaw and Lodz and all the other big cities in Poland, and you'll take where I was born in Belica, It was actually Belarus and was all mixed up. So Stalin took over in 1938. And then it became Russia. So we were not allowed to learn study the Bible, so we had to have a special teacher to come into the house, close the shades, and put on a candle. And the youngest one, we had 5 children. The firstborn was Feivel. I was the second one, Yerachmeel. I didn't have no middle name because God was in front of my name. The Yud, instead of calling me Rachmeel, they called me Yerachmeel. Number 3 was Abraham. Number 4 was Aaron. And number 5 was my sweetheart, Princess Rochelle, my beautiful sister.
So there were 4 sons and 1 daughter.
And
now,
my mother was pregnant for another one.
All right. Now, I want you to go forward now from what your grandfather taught you with how to survive in the woods.
Right.
Now, what happened? How many years later was it when they burned your house down?
2 years later, 1939, like I said, Stalin took over. 1941, Hitler came in around June or so, give or take. And the first thing he came in, he had prepared to kill all the Jews and burn their homes so they wouldn't have to have a home at all. So they can be like gypsies, live in the woods or whatever, or kill them. So the neighbors we found out later, they were unfriendly. So they pointed out Zhidek, that means the Jews' house. And in Belize, everybody had straw houses, roofs, the straw. So it was very simple. That particular German was very tall. He must have been around 7 foot or more. And he had a stick with a burning torch. And he went to each corner to burn our house while we were in the house, all of us. And my grandmother, my father's mother, was in a duplex house next to us, so we can walk right through and visit my grandmother. Any event, the doors were all shut. We didn't have a chance to take anything with us. So my father pushed one of the doors on the side, and we all escaped safely without anything taken with us. Whatever my mother had with her, on her, she grabbed and we ran. And we were small children, especially my younger brother and my sister. And we went to the Nyaman River. My father had a business. We had a maid in the house too, incidentally, because my mother had a different business of a manufacturer store. You can buy any material and you make your clothes, your suits, your draperies, whatever you wish. And she used to sell you by the yard. And my father had 12 men working for him, and they owned the Nyaman River 3 miles long. And he paid Polish podatkas. That means he paid Polish taxes to the Polish government. And by that time, when the Russians took over and the Germans took over, he remembered those men, 12 men that worked for him, and they built a cave about 30 feet down next to the house with a roof over it, and we had ice in there all year around. We had fish in the ice, and they were all alive. So when my my father was selling fish to all the different towns and cities, and the gentlemen that worked for my father lived in Zbran. That's a little uh, village, and other surrounding areas they lived. And but my grandfather, I forgot to tell you, that had a place with 3 castles around copper, and I used to go and help him make the fire on the bottom when I was 4.5 years old, 5 years old, and they heated up the bells of the copper, 3, and they put in dye. It was red, green, and blue. The farmers used to cut the wool from the sheep and bring it to my grandfather, and they used to dye it for them in different colors. Most of the farmers paid him. I said to him, I was with him all the time. I was very close to him of this teaching that he prepared me for, like I told you. And I said, Grandpa, how come this farmer didn't pay you? He says, Irachmiel, don't worry about those poor people. They have a conscience. When they have the money, they'll pay me back faithful to flame. They'll pay me more than I deserve. Watch out for the rich people. I says, why? They got money. Oh no, they'll find fault. This is wrong. That's wrong. I'm going to pay you what I think it's worth. So I said to him, Grandpa, you know what I'm thinking? Next time, when the rich people come to you, tell them the price is so much. Then when they cut you down, you'll have what you deserve. He says, see, I'm teaching you good things. Now you're learning. And my family were always smart. Look what Stalin did. He picked my uncle to go in the Kremlin because he heard him teach the farmers they couldn't read or write because they worked from sun up to sundown, so didn't have no schooling. So he was teaching them while he was in prison because he was very educated. My whole family are educated. We have
Your uncle was in prison with Stalin
right
during the Bolshevik Revolution.
Right, because I'll explain you how that happened. He was very smart, and he revoked, like Stalin did. And you would do probably the same. So would I, maybe, you know. So they put him in prison. Stalin was in the corner, listening to my uncle how he was teaching the farmers how to read, how to write, how to do arithmetic. He said, that's the man that I need with me. He figured. And he was writing notes. Do you know how he was writing notes? My uncle told my father. He cut himself. The blood. He was writing notes to the Bolsheviks. That this and this and that. Now when my uncle was in the Kremlin, Molotov married a Jewish woman. My uncle was very friendly with her. So they used to send messages to New York. He was a Zionist. So was I. The roots are still there. You cannot kill the roots. You can kill the people. But the roots always survive. It's a very difficult thing to say. The touch of my mother will always be within me. A flower you can give, you can smell it, but it'll die. The gift of a flower is not a touch of your mother. Because the love that my mother taught me and gave me will always be within me. And I try to teach my beautiful daughter, Cindy, and my other daughter, Debbie, and my son Matthew, and my 6 grandchildren that I have. I'm very fond of my 5 boys and 1 princess. My firstborn, I told them, be somebody. Don't go into bars and drink. Don't hang out on the corners with friends. Study. Be somebody. I didn't study because I memorized things. When I went to school, I memorized. I listened to the teacher. Jeff, if you're my teacher and you give me everything that's in you, why would I deny you? I would respect you and have a great admiration for you because you're teaching me something that I don't know. But the experience that I went through living with the Nazis controlling us, I'll never forget.
Well,
And nobody can tell me it was never there.
yeah, I know. It's sad that those theories are out there, but all kinds of deniers of everything. But uh, let's go back to after they burned your house. Your father and your mother took you and your siblings down to the river.
Right, the Yemen River.
And then what did you do after? What did you do there?
The reason why my father did it, because he knew the fishermen that worked for him would probably be there and try to help us. And it so happened. They were there fishing, and they took us to a shelter to hide us. Then they took and back to the house was burned, and there was nothing there. My father let the cow out. We had a cow that I used to milk. My mother taught me how to do it. It's an art. Otherwise, the cow can kick you with the back feet. So you have to learn all the things. I used to help my mother make a garden, and I know how to do it. But the farmers helped my father. But my grandfather's house was never burned. Let me explain to you. It was so good to the farmers all around the area. Zblan, Novgorod, Lida, every little town and village. Even if you didn't live in a village, lived on a farm. 10 years later, don't worry. You're going to have a good 3 months later, you'll have more things. You come back. If you don't have it this year, then next year. And they had a heart of gold. And I copy him. I do the same what my grandfather does. Help somebody, then you get careful to fly him. God will look over you. And I believe that wholehearted. It's very close to my heart. It's very difficult to explain to anybody, Jeff, but you've been around for a long time, and you had people that you associate with, and this and that. But afterwards, we went back to my grandfather's house, and we stayed with him. So they took 18 people on one side, 18 people on the other side. The Germans did, and the German soldiers went up, and they went like this. So they touched each other. 18 Germans on one side, and 18 Germans on the other side. And what they did, they took my uncle Mendel, the one that escaped from Poland from Russia when they killed all the 1939. He came to our town because they killed his wife and kids, and he was born in Belize. My uncle Mendel, so he came back to live with us. So they took him, my father, and other people that they grabbed, and they let him run in the middle. What the Germans did, there were wooden fences around the church and other places. So they ripped up the wooden pickets, and the nails were stuck to the wooden fences, and they had them run. And they were swinging that with the nails to hit each person. Those that were run quick, they put the foot on so they can fall and then hit them. Some of them didn't survive. They made us little kids watch. You know what else they did bad? A friend of mine, his name is Irving. He was 15 years old, and I was only 9 years old. He took his beautiful sister. She had red hair, and the hair was gelocta hair, not straight, but beautiful, long hair up to her neck. They put her in a barn. There's 18 Germans, like I told you. They did a dishonest thing with her, if you know what I mean. Each and every one. Then they took her clothes off. Then they tied her hands and back. Then they cut her breast halfway and put salt on it and let her walk in the middle of the market. That Irving said that he'll take Nekome. That means he will never forget that, and he'll do justice. When we were in the woods, Mr. Jeff, you know what he did? He came back, he went alone. Was afraid. He went alone into the farmers, into the villages at night. He never went during the day. At night they drink, they have ire, speck, puta. You know, that speck means like bacon and ham. The Germans like that. While they were running with the horse and wagon from one place to another place, they used to have the wagon with the horses. He jumped him back. The Russian used to shave with a blade. It opens up, then you take a belt and you make it sharp. You know the kind, not like today they have the little razors, but a long one like that opens up. He cut the throat. He says, it's no good to waste a bullet on them. What they did to my sister and my father and mother, he lived all by himself. Thank God that he didn't kill himself like other kids I used to see hang themselves, because they couldn't take it. You know what I mean? They couldn't take it. So what he did, so I said to him, Irving, come on, you didn't kill no Germans and cut their throat. You must have killed a sheep and you got blood all over you. He says, Bob, I couldn't take off the belt. When I cut their throat, the belts fell off because they have a buckle, got mit Hunds, and it buckles in. You know, it doesn't have like the holes like I have. I said, listen, the razor that you had, you could have cut it. Next time, you brought 5. Next time, you brought 7. belts around his neck. I cut the throat. So the General Korka used to come into our camp. He used to go out at night and find the Germans where they are, kill them, and then a whole night he had his voice with him, and then he come back to our camp to sleep. He looked at me, he looked at my father, and he says to me, "What is your name?" I says, "Yerachmiel Lazovsky." "You the Lazovsky that was in Stalin?" I said, "Tochna," in Russian. That's right. Remember I told you my grandfather taught me all those languages, that I was prepared to speak these languages. So he said to me, "Let me show you my machine gun that's 72 bullets. I'm going to sleep underneath the big tree. And you stay in front of me and I give you the gun." He wrapped around me because he was a big man, and the leather strap. Anybody goes near me, because everybody wants to be a general, kill him. I says, "I'll do that." So I had the machine gun on. I had my right hand on the trigger, and I watched him sleeping, because I slept during the night. I was okay. He said to my father, "I want to take your son as a decoy." He said, "What do you mean, you take my son as a decoy?" He knows how to dance. He plays music with the comb. He knows how to sing. He knows how to do all these things. He'll go into the villages or to the farmers. He's dressed just like he knows how to pray in Russian. I learned all that. So I pray like a Gentile. Understand? My father said, "I lost 2 sons. I lost my daughter. I lost my wife that she was pregnant 8 months. I only got 2 left, Feivel and Yerachmiel. Oh, Mishka." He called me Mishka. He didn't call me Lazovsky, or he didn't call me Yerachmiel. So I said, "Okay, Mishka." My father says, "You're not taking him." He said, "I'm a general. My brother is Lazovsky. You're gonna find out if I tell you no." He says, "Пожалуйста." He says, "Please forgive me. I'm not going to take him." But he would be an asset to kill more Germans.
Bob, how did you get from, after they burned your house down, the Nazis lined up and they beat everybody?
Right.
And then how did you get from there to your camp, to a camp?
Okay.
Where you were safer?
Okay. They ordered us to leave Belitsa, or you're going to be killed. So being that my father said that he can do a trade, they said, "Okay, you cannot stay in Belitsa. Either go to Lida or to Jatel." So my mother said, "We'll go to Jatel." And we went to Jatel. So we whatever my grandfather has left in his house, we went with him, my uncle Mendel and my tante Leah, and we went, all of us with the kids, to Jatel. We went to Jatel, and they put us in a ghetto. So then we were all brought in the ghetto, in Jatel. So those that can work they separated those that can work. They gave us cards out. Those that didn't work, they took them to a place that we're not supposed to know. You can figure it out yourself. My father used to go out of the ghetto and work for a farmer that made meal, for bread. It's a meal thing for making that. So he was working there a whole day, and then late in the evening, they let him come in because he had a pass, and they allowed him to go out to work and then come in. Sometimes he was working outside for days and didn't come in because they needed him to do the work. Then the Germans said they made somebody in charge, like a mayor, So Jeff became a mayor. You came with a big things, and you said, listen, the Germans want gold and diamonds. Otherwise, they're going to start killing us. So each one had rings, necklaces, earrings. So they gave it in the big pushka. Then they gave it to the Germans, and they said, okay, unless you survive, you're going to stay here. And then those group of Germans went further somewhere, and a new group came in. They demanded gold again, and diamonds, and this and that. So they made a pogrom, and they killed half of the people in the ghetto. Those that survived and cleaned up, because the people ran. So they ran this way, that way. So the whole group was on top of each other, and they were all murdered.
Is that where you lost your mother and father?
No.
Did they die there?
No. We were very lucky. Underneath, when we lived in that house, we had a big closet with 2 doors that you hang close. The bottom, my father cut out, and we cut out the wooden floor. And underneath was a cave. So we can all lay in there. And then when we close, we take back the thing and close it down. First we close the 2 doors, so nobody can look in the closet. There's a hole in there. And we had, that was in the winter time. And I went out there with my Aunt Leah at night, like 2:30 in the morning. The Germans sleep. We had to cross the road underneath the wire, go in where they turn a rope with a pail, and get the water. And it was all ice all around. I was cold like a son of a gun, very cold. And we took the water and we brought it down so my Zadie, my grandfather can drink it, because he used to cough all the time. A lot of dust from that in the basement, in the cave, down below the ground there, underneath the house, and spider webs and all that, So it wasn't so comfortable. And if you move a little, the dust comes up. So you can't help by coughing. We were laying there for weeks underneath. That was the last time when they made Juden rein, kill everybody. Those that were lucky to escape, fine. Those that couldn't escape, they shot them right there, or they take them in a big pickup truck, big truck. They bring them to a kino, where they used to have movies, play. So that was empty. So they brought him there, and they nailed all the windows so nobody can escape. And then they take him truck by truck to a place where there's a gully, and they machine gunned them. So that's where they took my grandfather, my mother, my two brothers, my little sister, and my mother was pregnant. The reason why they didn't kill her right away, like others they did, my father and I used to take the sheet off the bed, fold it together. I used to hold it on the end. My father said, breathe in. And she breathed in, and he wrapped it around her, and she turned the white sheet and then put the dress over her so the Germans wouldn't see that she's pregnant. The kids never knew that my mother was pregnant because that was a secret. If they asked the kids, is your mother pregnant? They take her with other pregnant women. They bring her to a gully, and they machine gun them, and that's it.
How did you and your brother and your father survive when your mother and your other brothers and sister they were killed? How did you and your father avoid that, escape that?
Okay. My father was, like I told you, was working outside in a mill place that the Germans had him go and work. When he found out that they were killing everybody in the ghetto, he couldn't come in. No matter who comes out or comes in, they machine gun you. They make it Yidden Rein. They clean all the Jews out, kill them. No savings for no card will save you nothing. My aunt and my uncle was with us, like I told you, in the cave. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, we were all sleeping, and they went out and escaped into the woods. After we were laying there, no food, no drinks, no nothing, and we were listening to all the shooting and all the machine guns and all the people, the neighbors and the farmers, whoever that lived around the area, came in when the Germans got through killing in the afternoon or in the evening or early in the morning. We heard them talking to each other and zhidek and stealing all the clothes that we had inside the house. We heard the footsteps coming in. They were drinking and talking dirty talk about the Jews and this and that. Yavrei is Dochneskarei, means your Jew is going to die sooner, and all this. But after a while, we were all asleep. A company of those do-gooders that were doing for the Germans came into the house, sitting at the table, drinking, and they must have fallen asleep. In the morning early, my grandfather started to cough. And it's so quiet. You can hear even a fly running. They started to holler, "Oh, Zhidek! They're going to go and get the Germans." We heard them. And they went for the Germans. My mother grabbed me. She says, "Irachmiel, du gedenkst, was ich hab dir gesagt. Do you remember what I told you?" I says, "Yeah, to be happy, to sing, to dance, to be freilich, to survive, and to tell, you gotta tell what the Goslin is doing. That means I should never kill myself. I should be happy. I should sing. I should help other people to be like my Zaidi, be like my Tati, you Zaidi. And I remember the exact words what she told me. And she says, promise me, zog al duston what you zog there. I shouldn't hang myself. I shouldn't kill myself. I should stop others from doing that. You need to survive and tell the world. Even if you tell to one person, she says to me, then you tell the whole world. One person makes a difference. So I respected my mother, and I promised her, she wrapped around my neck a little thing with a buckle, and she put her marriage ring and $5-10 ruble gold pieces. She says, you saved your life. Germans like gold. So when they catch you, you give it them, they let you go. I said, I can't take that from you. She says, you must. I want you to survive. I cannot go nowhere. I'm pregnant. I have my two kids. Abraham was already shot in the head before we went in the cave. So Aaron and Rochelle was with her. She says, I have to stay with her, with them. You can survive. I want you to have it. Don't refuse me when I ask you. I said, okay. Tears came out of me, and I didn't say nothing. I said, I'll do what you asked me. And that was the last thing. She pushed me out of the cave, and she says, Geh rein, Abu Gate, number 1, number 2. I listened to her. That was around 8 o'clock in the morning, or 8:30. I jumped in number 1 and number 2. Nobody cleaned it ever. Maggots were that big, white and yellow maggots up to my ear. I was holding God not to drown myself. Dead rats, and it was cannot describe. I was laying there from 8 o'clock in the morning until 2:30 in the morning, when I didn't hear any more noise and talking. You can write a book what I heard, how they talked about Jews and how the killings and the stealing and all this dirty talk, unpleasant, that I don't like to talk about it because it's bad. At 2:30 in the morning, I didn't hear no more noise, and I got out of it, number 1 and number 2, and I took off whatever I had on, and I was shivering. You can hear my teeth knocking against each other. And my Zaidi said to me when I was years ago with him,
in order to keep warm, you keep rubbing yourself and exercise and move around. Otherwise, you freeze to death. So I did it. I remember what my lady told me, and I did it. As I come closer to the gate, I heard footsteps. I guess the German NKVD, the SS troop, they were across from that gate that I came by. So I listened. I listened to them, and then I heard the footsteps getting much small, quieter. So I said, "Oh, I couldn't look through. I didn't want him to see me, so I was crawling on my hands, and then I listened and didn't hear no more footsteps. So I went closer to the gate, and I was so close to the gate that all of a sudden I started hearing footsteps again. So what it was, he was watching the building that the Germans were sleeping, because some young men came in from the woods and they were shooting from inside the ghetto. So they figured there may be some left. So the German guard with his rifle walking, but by the time he turned the other side of the building, I didn't hear his footsteps anymore. So I crawled underneath. Don't forget, I only weighed 39 pounds. My stomach was touching my backbones. That's how I was so I could crawl and I ran quick across the thing, and then I went across. There was a little brook. I heard running water. And then I saw some garbage cans halfway covered with metal things. So first, what I did, I washed my hands, and I won't smell so bad. You know, I smell terribly. Like I can kill by smelling. Meh, meh. Any event, I washed my feet because I had nothing on. I took everything off. It was terrible. And I washed myself the best I can. And I went to the garbage can, and I saw the shallots, the skin from raw potatoes. And I didn't eat for days. So the first thing that I did, I washed my hands. I drank the water from the brook. Was running water. Ice was on the side, but in the thing was still running water, and I drank. Then what I did, I went to the garbage can, and I saw the shells from the potatoes raw, and I ate it. Oh, was that nice and sweet, the raw potatoes. And then I got a hold of myself, and then I started walking. At night, it was around close to 3, maybe a quarter after 3 in the morning, and the moon was out, but I had to be careful. So I was walking into the farmers' woods there. Like they had corn. It was high, about 5 feet high. So I went in there, and I ate some of the corn. It got stuck in my throat because I couldn't. I was so desperate, hungry, Then I went into the farmer and I knocked in the door, and he said to me, "Get the heck out of here! They're going to kill me and kill you together. I cannot have you. Get the hell out of here, or I'll kill you." I says, Wait a minute. I told him, подождите, пожалуйста. Wait a minute. In Russian. He says, what are you talking about? I should wait a minute. I want to explain you who I am. Я Yishvore Bayanuk, Fabelnik, Israel Alperman. Oh, T. Yunuk, for the Fabelnik, you are the grandson? Так точно. Я был пацан. I was a little boy when I was with him. Ходи сюда. Come with me. He put me in the barn. He gave me clean clothes. Oh, that was like $1.5 million. Then he gave me milk and a piece of bread, looked like a piece of cake. And I ate that, and he covered me in the hay with my clothes. He gave me nice clothes, warm. And he gave me, he made from leather, some kind of from the animal, like a shoe with string. And he gave me some rags first, and I put it on, and I laid in the hay. In the morning, he gave me more food, and he says, listen, I love you, your grandfather. He was a good man. But if they find out you're here, I said, well, where can I go? Where's my people? He says, you got to go to Dvorets. I said, я не знаю. I didn't know where Dvorets is. He says, подождите. I said, wait a minute. Right, make for me a map, and I'll follow. So he made a sketch how to go this way and that way, and then you ask somebody, they all know your grandfather. So I did. I went. A guy on a bicycle caught me. He says, ходи сюда. So I went over. You know, что? What do you want? I want to take you to a place. I says, no, I'm going to my farm. What farm? I says, not твоя дело, not your business. I don't want to tell him, no, because I looked like he's a spy or something. He says, no, you got to come with me. So he put me on the, it's not a woman's bicycle, it's a men's. So he put me on the thing. So I says, he was riding on the road. And I said to him, I need to go to Izdawayo, that I got to do what the men do. And he let me down, and he was trying to put the thing on his bicycle to hold the bicycle down. And then he turned, and I saw what the right place where to stop, because I told him I have to go. And there was deep woods, deep, good. And I said to him, подождите, yes, подождите. And I said to my arm to hold, and he turned to me, and my Zaidi told me, no matter how you do it, I'll show you how to do something good. He prepared me real good. The Lord is good to me, with my Zaidi.
How old were you then at this time?
9 and a half.
You were 9 and a half?
About 9. I was born in 1932, so 8, 9, about 9, a little after. And I gave him a zets with my right foot in the good place.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention it. And he went down, and I take the bicycle on him, and I ran into the woods. He was screaming. He couldn't run after me. I think I made a Pfannkuchen. You know what I mean? Scrambled eggs. I made.
Did you ever see your brother or your father again?
Let me explain to you. Finally, with all this business and running and escaping, then I got hungry, so I went to another farm after the woods. I went into the woods and he couldn't catch me. He was already, I ran like a son of a gun. I can run 35 miles an hour. Oh yeah, I can run good. Believe me. I went to another farmer. There was like a club. One house here, one house there, one house, like a surrounding with houses with farmers. I went in there and I asked for food. A young man comes out with a weight. The weigh, the ball was that big with iron. And the end was markers with a hook. And you weigh the weight, and tells you how much. He wanted to hit me and kill me. But my Zaidi, I told you, he prepared me for a lot of things. I went and I got him the right way. His mother come out of the house. "Что с тобою?" she said to him. "What's wrong with you? Let that young boy go." I gave him back the weight and I ran away. I saw another guy that knew my grandfather. He told me there are Jews in there, how to go there. He made them a thing and I went. What did I do? I walked right into another camp. It's a slave camp, Dvorets. I go in there and they put me to work. They had a big things on like a railroad. The lines that were building railroad tracks for the railroad tracks when they send food from Germany by plane. They put it on the railroad tracks and they go to Stalingrad. So I was working with Ted Weinstone. He was older than me. I was younger. So he was telling me how to do it. And he says, don't try to overdo it because you can ruin the thing come back on you going up the hill. You can ruin your leg. So he was right. I tried to show off, putting more stones and push it up the hill, and it went back on me. So I almost lost my leg. See, it hit me so bad. See?
Yeah.
It's very hard to heal all these years. My doctor said I can lose my leg, but I take care of it, and my daughter helps me.
Well,
Any event,
Bob, we only have a minute left.
okay.
How were you finally rescued?
Okay, while I was working with Ted Weinstone outside the camp in the Dvorets, I was talking to the farmers. Слушайте, пожалуйста, я здесь живу. Я Лазовский. Скажите этот пожалуйста, я живу тут. Я хочу пойти в лесу. The German got mad at me. What are you talking? So Teddy Weinstone said, that mensch is verrückt, that I'm crazy. I'm talking to myself. And I'm a good arbiter. That I'm a good worker. So he took the gun, put it back. If Teddy Weinstone wouldn't speak for me, I'd probably be dead. So he was with me all the time, and I used to sing and dance, make everybody happy. The message came in to my uncle in the woods, my father, and my aunt Leah. Then meanwhile, after I've been there establishing talk to the farmers that I'm alive, I live here, and they send messages to the partisans in the woods. 3, 4, 5 days later, who walks into the camp? Fievel, my brother. And we hug each other and kiss each other, and we cried and we laughed. A day later, my uncle Mendel comes in with a horse trader. He knew the way. He was about 75 years old. He knew every way how the woods and the farmers were to go. His name was Mishka the Kanuch. That's his name. Kanuch means horse trader. And he guided my uncle Mendel to come into the camp at 2:30 in the morning. He came in with a gun and grenade. We took a shower after work. I said to my uncle, we cannot escape tonight at 2:30. He says, Favos Rachmiel. That man is not gemalt. It was another guy that taken a shower. People before were escaping, they were machine gunned. This guy was not circumcised. What are you doing here? This is supposed to be a slave camp.
When did you
I
find
said, when I was in the shower with my uncle Menzel and the Meshka the Kanuch, I looked around to recognize somebody, to look. So I look him up and down. My Zaidi says, stay close to your friends, but stay closer to your enemies. I said, Zaidi, why would I want to stay close to my enemies? Yirachmiel, so you'll know what they're up to.
So when did you finally get free?
My uncle, then I said to my uncle,
tell me when you finally got free.
Yeah, I said to my uncle, let's escape the next night, not in the same place, in a different, and we'll go 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We did it.
And you made it.
We made it.
Wow.
And we walked into the woods. I was in heaven.
I'll bet you. Come back. We're out of time. I want to thank you. I want to thank Bob Lesser for. I don't think this needs any editorializing. This is an amazing account of an amazing survival. It's just beyond words to imagine what kind of traumatic experience that has to have been for everybody who was there in the Holocaust. I want to thank Bob, and I'm going to invite him to come back again soon to continue. He's got so many more stories to tell. This is just one story of the saga, the great epic journey of his life, Bob Lesser. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. John.